I saw a tweet saying manual bidding was making a comeback, and I absolutely love the topic, so I wanted to go into depth with it. So the whole thing is that smart bidding works great because it bids higher and lower for a number of factors that we can't bid for directly with manual bids. That's why it was so effective when it actually started using some of these things, and especially for shopping where we don't even have access to the biggest, most important signal, which is the search query. That's why smart bidding was so much better for shopping when it actually came out. The drawback, though, is that some clicks still have value even though they can't be tracked, and smart bidding can't bid for what it can't see. So should you switch back to manual bidding again? And what alternatives is it that you have to get the best of both worlds? And that's what we'll explore today. Stay tuned for the best way to validate whether the traffic you buy without conversions is worth it or not towards the end of the video. Let's start with some complexity. There are two areas of complexity when it comes to smart bidding and manual bidding. The first one is long customer journals. Top funnel search queries become under prioritized because conversions can't be attributed back to the original keyword that a user used. So those top funnel touch points are important because if they know you already and they search for a bottom of funnel keyword, then your CTR will be higher, which leads to higher overall sales volume. But sometimes the same user does not come back to search for bottom funnel keywords at all. They'll come in through meta ads, direct email, or SEO, and that leads us to not have any value to give to top funnel keywords at all, even if people come back for them afterwards. And that way, smart bidding will undervalue them. In my opinion, top funnel keywords are essential for scaling accounts, especially for accounts with high AOV. All this simply just means that you'll end up with an account that doesn't scale. Now, the second complexity is traffic. Traffic has a value even if we can't see it. Because again, if 100 clicks leads to 5 conversions, then it's clear what the value of those 5 clicks were. But does that mean that the 95 clicks that didn't lead to a conversion had zero value for you at all? The guess then becomes, when do you gain more by moving to manual bidding versus staying more efficient with smart bidding? In 90% of the accounts that we test, with switching over to manual bidding, even for the entire account or small parts of it, smart bidding did better using Google Ads tracking as a measurement and also when verifying in the backend. Now, let's jump into an account and I'll show you one of our latest experiments of doing so. So here's an example of what we did. So you'll see here we'll have 16,000 clicks, 10,000 conversion value, about the same. And so here on the 27th, we started making the changes. And you can see we started increasing a bit in clicks, a little bit in conversion value. And now we're getting a lot more clicks, like 50% more conversion value, which is kind of worth it when you look at it. However, if we go in and we say, okay, let's try to see what do we actually have to pay to do all this, you can see it was simply not worth buying this much additional traffic. And again, there are different versions of this, and like you can see we're at 135, 137, 131, 0.77, 120, 133. So it's like you can argue, yes, could we buy more conversion value? Could we buy more quote unquote revenue, more customers? Yes, definitely. There's more to get, but it just wasn't efficient to do it. Can we do it over a longer time frame? Yes, yes, and yes. But this is just a really good example of all the times we actually try to make this change. The truth is that outside of B2B or niche accounts, it hardly ever makes sense to make the complete transition to manual bidding. At the same time, one of the KPIs that we've brought back into accounts in the growth stage, this is a very, very important part, in the growth stage, is clicks. It's clear that there's a value from getting relevant traffic, even if there's no direct conversions related to that traffic. So what I actually want to talk about now is, does it make sense to implement some of the good things from manual bidding, and what can you do to get the best of both worlds? So when I look at accounts, I look at them from two perspectives, and I basically categorize them into Wartime and Peacetime. This is stolen from a book on business, and I absolutely love it, so I translated it into Google Ads. But Wartime means that our profitability is key, and with no margin of error. Solely spending your budget where it's evident we get a return is the key part about this stage. However, Peacetime means that we have headroom in our profitability. We are looking to grow, and we can handle some waste. And a tactic to use here is to expand beyond what on paper looks good. So what tactics can we use instead of manual bidding, or instead of switching completely to manual bidding, to boost traffic when smart bidding is trying to be a little bit too efficient? In ranked order, starting from least useful to most useful, Let's start with number 4. So number 4 is manual CPC fallback campaigns. This work by creating duplicate campaigns like shopping or search that you apply manual bids for. Technically, when the bid in the fallback campaign is higher than that in the smart bidding campaign, whether it's search or shopping, the fallback campaign will show up instead. This means that whenever smart bidding isn't bidding high enough, we have our fallback campaigns to enforce a minimum bid in the account, ensuring we get the traffic. We used to do this a lot, but with more options from Google, we rarely do this anymore, besides in shopping, where we always run a fallback campaign, but that's not particularly for traffic purposes. Number 3 is we're lowering ROAS targets strategically. So when you lower your ROAS, you're telling smart bidding to do one of 2 things. 1, increase the bids for existing converting segments, search queries, audiences, devices, etc. And the second thing is that it will try to find new segments to bid for because now it has this headroom in the target. So it'll try to pursue things that it didn't have before. Lowering your ROAS target before peak season or just strategically throughout the year is a great way to increase traffic and at the same time give smart bidding the ability to find new search terms to bid for. Let's jump into account. I'll try to show you an example. So here's a great example. What we did was that we started lowering the ROAS targets because we're starting to go into peak season. And here's just a before and after. So we got 20% more clicks, 15% higher CPCs, 40% higher cost. Well, yikes. But we got a higher impression share. We got 31% more conversions and 20% more conversion value. Our ROAS did go down by 13%. In this case, I will absolutely take it because we got 20% more clicks and we got further out. And that's what we're trying to do before a peak season. Tactic number 2 is minimum bids in portfolios. I do believe it's criminal that you have to run portfolio bid strategies to get access to minimum bids, but it is what it is. Minimum bids basically tell smart bidding to always bid at least X amount. This is a great way to ensure that you're always bidding a minimum amount to get traffic no matter what your conversion data is. So again, let's go in, let's just look on an account where we made this change recently. So here we go in and we can see we made a change where we removed the minimum bid limit just to see what would happen. And you can see here we were at around 3,000 clicks, and literally from one day to another, and this wasn't a magical day, it wasn't a Sunday to Monday or some other magical day, it was a Wednesday to Thursday, we actually just dropped massively in amount of clicks. Not that much in the amount of conversions. Basically, you can't tell that we've made this change in the amount of conversions, but you can see it in the amount of clicks, and you can also see it in the CPC. If we went in, if we're going to look at it, we see right around that time, our CPC starts increasing. And the reason why it increases is because now we don't have all of this traffic that we had before at a lower CPC than the rest of the campaign. So yes, our CPCs goes up, but actually when we look at conversions, they stay the same. So you can argue this is, again, the whole thing where the whole thing comes in, where we talk about what value can smart bidding see. This was for our best sellers. I guarantee there's value in buying some of these clicks in, but we just can't show it. And again, we implemented the minimum bids again later. The whole thing here that's really, really important when you work with minimum bids is that you need to work more on negative keywords than you otherwise would to make sure that you remove these completely irrelevant search terms. But in my opinion, minimum bids is a favorite in order to push traffic in accounts. You can strategically choose to only do this for your best-selling products or your top campaigns. However, my favorite new method I'm finally allowed to talk about is, number 1, enable smart bidding exploration. The reason why lowering ROAS targets was dropped to number 3 on the list was because of this feature that's finally out of beta. It's called smart bidding exploration. It allows smart bidding to hit a 10 to 30% lower ROAS while exploring new search terms that you're currently not bidding for. It's not particularly meant to be a traffic driving mechanism in smart bidding, but it's a nice side effect. The official explanations from Google is that it will open up smart bidding to bid for less obvious search queries. The typical example that I like to use is the system knows that if we're selling running shoes, it should be bidding for running shoes. But what about the term learning to run or first time runner or running shoes for beginners? These are less obvious terms that would be great to get traffic from anyways, and they might lead to conversion. conversions, especially as we're moving over to more AI-based chats. Also, combining smart bidding exploration with minimum bids can together be a great way to ensure you're not letting smart bidding become too single-minded with this focus on efficiency. Now that we've reviewed the 4 tactics, let's discuss how you can verify that driving more traffic is actually a good idea. One of the coolest new features from Google Ads is the native incrementality testing that came out from Google Marketing Live in 2025. The announcement from Google lowers the bar for incrementality testing to $5,000 per month. It used to be $100,000 per month. I'm not 100% convinced that you should run $5,000 incrementality tests, but the previous limit, like I mentioned, was 100,000, which was prohibitive even for the accounts that I run. So now we can run the incrementality test to see if we get more conversions overall from running minimum bids, from running fallback campaigns, from lowering our ROAS targets, from running smart bidding exploration. Just to remind us all, what manual bidding does great is that it buys traffic across all audiences, like I'm showing here. These are all audiences, all devices, all signals, search queries, product attributes, seasonality. There's no limitations. And the whole thing here is that we can't see what's converting because we can't track everything. With incrementality testing, we can see in black or white if we get more conversions when we generate more traffic or not. And to explain this, the goal with an incrementality test here, like we're showing here in the slide, is that all the gray ones on the top are people who didn't convert, and all the ones on the bottom are people who converted, whether or not they saw the ad or not. There's people on the left that saw our ad, and there's people on the right that didn't see our ad. And then there's the people where that converted because of the ad, and those are in the lavender color. They did see an ad, and they converted, where the same group of people that didn't see an ad didn't convert. That's where, again, the same thing we want to try to do with using minimum bids, where we have cohort 1 where we're using minimum bids, and then we have cohort 2 where we're not using minimum bids. On paper, cohort 2 will be more efficient. The question that we're trying to answer with incrementality testing is whether driving additional traffic using minimum bids means we can drive additional conversions we would otherwise not have gotten. Again, that's the whole thing we're trying to answer. Some other things. If you can't run incrementality tests, then just using blended ROAS metric to confirm you're still profitable in the end can be a good failsafe to verify whether it makes sense to buy the extra traffic or not. Post a comment or ask a question in the comment section. I answer every single one, so make sure to get your comments in or suggestions for new topics to cover. If you're into practical PPC insights that you can actually help you, then subscribe. I share tips, breakdowns, and call out what's working and what's not. No fluff, just the stuff that you can use every single week.